Hey y'all, welcome back. Today I am heading to the grocery store to pick up about $30 in groceries, and I'm going to be making a full week's worth of meals, including breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a single person. But these recipes are also amazing for couples and families. I think everybody is going to love them. I also included a recipe for a treat too, so let's head to the store and see what we're going to pick up. First thing on my list is definitely rotisserie chicken. $4.99. Let's find a big one. This will be better. Next is going to be eggs, 24 for $6.49. Bananas are next. Let's see. $1.49 for 3 pounds. That's a good deal. Organic baby spinach, $3.89. Next is going to be cheese. Here we go. $5.19 for Monterey Jack for 2 pounds. Definitely gonna get one of these. It's good until October 27th, and I can shred it and freeze it if I need to. Looking for the tortillas. That's the last thing I need is tortillas. $4.99, I think, with the 8-inch. This is it. It's gonna be $4.99 for that. And that is going to be everything that we need for this. The great thing about Costco is I could grab some lunch for $1.99 plus tax, so the total was $2.14, or I could have grabbed a hot dog too for a little bit less. So that was the first meal of this meal plan, is actually grabbing a little bit of really inexpensive lunch at Costco just to make it really worth my while for the shopping trip. Now, to add a few extra dollars here, if you'd like, there are a few other options here at Costco, like baby carrots for $4.99. You get quite a bit, or maybe some tomatoes. They do have quite a few options for around $5. And watermelon is a really great price right now at $5.89 because it is the summertime, and you can get a ton of fruit for this. You can even freeze some for later. And if you don't want to do meat, you can definitely do beans instead, like these pinto beans or chickpeas for around $8, or you could end up doing tofu instead. That would work as well. So now that I'm home, I ended up weighing the chicken. It was 4 pounds and 8 ounces. When I got home, I shredded it and ended up with 2 very large containers of shredded chicken. This will last me the week. What I'm going to do is I'll keep half of this in the refrigerator for the first few days, and then I may freeze the rest to use throughout the week, so that way it stays nice and fresh. And I also have the bones and the skin here, and I'm going to put this in a bag. I'm going to use this later. Don't throw this out. It's definitely useful. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with it here in just a couple of days. So just throw that in the freezer, and then we are all set with our protein for the week. The total was $27.43 for all the groceries, plus $2.14 for my slice of pizza. So that still brings us under $30 for the grocery haul and for lunch today. Now, the first recipe I want to show you is a very easy breakfast idea, and I'm just testing my stainless steel. I just threw a little bit of water on there to see if it rolled around. That makes it so it's going to be non-stick. I added my butter. You can use oil instead, or a little bit of water, or maybe just a non-stick pan if you don't have either of those. And we're just going to scramble a couple of eggs, just 2 eggs. You could actually make the eggs all at once in the oven if you want, because I'm just going to be making a really easy cheesy egg and spinach breakfast burrito, and this is going to be 7 portions. So we're going to be using a total of 14 eggs for this for the week, and you can prep them all at the same time if you want. Scramble those in the pan or in the oven, and then I'll just add that to my tortilla and season with a little salt and pepper, add a little bit of cheese, some hot sauce. You can add spinach as well, and yes, you can just roll these on up and freeze all of the portions and just reheat them in the oven or the microwave if you like when you're ready to eat. It's totally up to you. I just ended up making these each day as I wanted them because I had just had the ingredients on hand. So this one is super easy and delicious, and just pair it with a banana for breakfast. This next meal idea is either a breakfast or a lunch, depending on what you want to do. You could even do this for dinner too. It would be super delicious. I just added 3 eggs to a bowl and seasoned with salt, pepper, and garlic powder to taste. And then I just beat the eggs until they were nice and combined. Now, I don't really have a dish that I wanted to use for this, so I grabbed a loaf pan, but you could just use a cake pan and lay the tortilla flat if you want. But I wanted crispy edges, so I wanted to make sure that my tortilla was sort of lifted. And so I just added a piece of foil to lift it up to make a bowl. Then I added my eggs, a little spinach, and some cheese, and popped that in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 to 35 minutes until it was nice and set. And I just served that with a banana on the side. And we do have enough eggs in the meal plan to make this 3 times if we'd like. So that is an option. This next meal idea is a high protein lunch or dinner option. and it just is super simple to throw together. You could use canned chicken if that's what you had on hand too, by the way, for future reference. I'm just adding a cup of chicken, an egg, and 3/4 cup of cheese to my mixer here and just mixing that up. And I did add some paprika, salt, pepper, and garlic powder, but if you don't have any of these seasonings, don't worry. It's going to be plenty tasty without the seasonings, but you can add anything that you love to this, which I like. Then I'm just going to roll this mixture into sort of nugget shapes, as you can see here. And I'm going to be using my air fryer, but you can use the oven. I'm just going to throw these in the air fryer at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 minutes, or you can bake them at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 to 20 minutes, just until they're nice and crispy and cooked through. And this meal is on the higher end of calories, so you could end up making this into 2 meals if you like. Serve it with spinach on the side. You could just do 1 meal out of it, and you could freeze these 2 for later. They're great without a dipping sauce too, because they're nice and moist on the inside, as you can see here, but you can definitely make your own fun dipping sauce too. Now, I'm going to make our life super easy for lunches. I am just going to be making this high protein chicken and spinach wrap. I'm just going to warm my tortilla here on the stovetop. This just makes it easier to roll it all up. Then I'm just going to top that with 1/2 cup of shredded chicken, a cup of spinach, and 1/4 cup of the shredded cheese, and just roll that on up. You could add any sauce or condiments that you have, but it's honestly great just like this. And this is going to end up being 31 grams of protein or so and about 400 calories. And you could prep these in advance, just keep them in the fridge for up to 3 days, and we're just going to have enough for 7 portions of this for lunch. Super easy and delicious. And to mix things up and make things easy for one of the days, I'm just going to make a very easy chicken and cobb salad. I only have enough eggs to do this one time with the eggs, so I'm just going to hard boil the eggs, slice it up, add it to some spinach, some shredded chicken on top. You can add a little bit of oil and vinegar if you like, season with salt and pepper. You could just eat it just like this. That's what I did, and it was super delicious. A very easy and light lunch or dinner. Next day, I'm going to go ahead and grab out my bones and skin from the freezer, and I've got the shredded chicken in the freezer as well because it really only lasts 2 or 3 days in the refrigerator, so make sure you freeze that. Now I'm going to add the bones and skin to a very large pot and top with water, bring that to a boil and reduce to low, and have it partially covered for about 2 or 3 hours. I'm just going to be making a homemade stock here. If you had any veggie scraps, you could add those too. And while that's cooking, I'm going to use the time to shred some more cheese for the rest of the week, and I'm going to start making some tortilla strips that I'm going to end up frying because I'm going to make a homemade soup tonight as well that's going to be super easy and delicious. So I'm just prepping everything in advance. So I'm just slicing my tortillas in half. I'm just using about 2 or 3, just depends on how many you like because we have a ton of tortillas. Then I'm just going to be slicing them in these really thin pieces so I can make little tortilla strips, and I'm going to set that aside as well. Then I'm going to chop some spinach and just have that ready to go too. So that way when I go to make dinner this evening, everything is already in the refrigerator and ready to go. You can even prep this stuff the day beforehand too, just so it's ready. Now, when it comes time to fry these little strips, I'm just going to add oil to a large pot that has high sides to reduce the splattering, and I'm carefully adding the strips here. Be really careful when you fry. Look up tips and tricks to make sure you do this safely. It only takes a minute or 2 to make these crispy. Remove to a towel line plate and salt those and set those aside. And it's been about 2 or 3 hours. I'm going to go ahead and remove the bones and skin using tongs, and I'm just going to discard those. And then I'm going to carefully strain the stock into a large bowl, and I'm going to go ahead and portion out 4 cups of this stock for the soup this evening. And the rest of this stock I can portion out into smaller portions, put them in bags or a jar, and freeze those for later. You're just going to have extra on hand. Now, when it comes time to make the soup, I'm going to add a little bit of oil. If you don't have oil, that's okay. Just use maybe a nonstick pot instead. And I'll bloom all my spices here. I'm using chili powder, cumin, salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. I'm just going to let that saute for about 15 to 20 seconds just to kind of bring out the extra flavors with those spices. Then I'll add my 4 cups of stock and start bringing that to a boil. I'm going to give that a mix. Then I'll add 2 cups of shredded chicken to this and my spinach. This is only going to end up making about 2 to 3 servings. It depends on your serving sizes and how much of the cheese you're going to add later. So really you could get up to 4 servings out of this soup. It really just depends. And you can make this soup a couple of times with the amount of chicken and stock that we have. So that's totally up to you. Now I'm just going to let that simmer away for about 15 to 20 minutes and serve it with some cheese on top and those crispy tortilla pieces. And that's it. This soup is super delicious. You can really modify it to make it your own and enjoy. The next dinner dinner idea is a super easy chicken nachos. We're just going to take a couple of these tortillas and cut them each into 8 even triangles because we're going to make some homemade chips. Now you can use your oven, you can use your toaster oven, or you can fry them in oil just depending on what you have on hand. So go ahead and do that. I like to fry them in oil. I feel like they have really good flavor and come out really nice and crispy this way, but I really do like the oven method as well. I just bake them without any oil, just on a lined baking sheet until they get nice and toasty and brown. So you can do it that way as well. Either way, once you remove them, just salt them immediately so they get a little bit more flavor. And then to a pot, I'm going to add a little bit of the frozen shredded chicken. A 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of chicken will do just fine for this, or you can just omit the chicken if you don't have any left on hand by the time you make these nachos. That's totally fine. It's going to be really delicious. To an oven safe plate, I'm going to add my chips, my chicken, and the cheese, and just bake that for a few minutes till it's nice and melty. Then I'm just going to top that with hot sauce or anything that you want to add on top that you have on hand. I did have a jalapeno from the garden, so I grabbed that, sliced it up, and added it, and it was super delicious. There's nothing better than a plate of nachos. Now, for the treat this week, I'm going to go ahead and test my stainless and add a little bit of oil. And again, if you don't have oil or butter, just use a nonstick pan. I'm adding my banana, just one of the bananas this week, to my pan, and I'm just going to put a little bit of cinnamon and sugar. I have a cinnamon sugar combination I'm using, but you can obviously just do it separately. And then I'm just going to caramelize that banana for a few minutes on each side, cut that in half, and just try to make sure all sides are caramelized. Then I'm going to remove that and add it to a warmed tortilla, and I'm going to give this a roll until it's all completely closed up on all sides. And I'm going to add this back to the pan to make this nice and crispy and golden on all sides. Again, just using that same pan, I just wiped it out and add a little bit more oil. But again, if you don't have oil, just use your nonstick pan or just go without the oil. It'll still work just fine. Then I'm just going to flip that over until it's nice and crispy on all sides. And I'm just going to put a little bit more cinnamon sugar on it as well. And that's it for this. Now, if you don't have the banana, you can even do this just with the tortillas like we did earlier when we made chips, and just add cinnamon and sugar on top, and you'll have a delicious dessert. My mouth is watering. This was so good, and it was the perfect little treat for the week. But if you did have ice cream or maybe some whipped cream, you could add that too. Let me just tell you, this was so, so delicious. Perfect end to the week. I hope you love those recipes as much as I do. And if you try anything, be sure to come back and let me know. And if you have any other recipe suggestions for these ingredients, leave those down below too, because I'd love to hear it. I know this time I shopped at Costco, and that's totally different than what I normally do. I shop at Aldi and other grocery stores, but I think it was really fun to see how little we could spend at Costco and still really get a variety of meals for the week. If you have any other suggestions though, or requests for future videos, be sure to leave that down below in the comments. I'm always loving to hear your requests so I can make future videos for things you actually want to see. Now, YouTube thinks you'd like to watch another video, so go check that out, click on it, enjoy it, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.